like I'm struggling to pay the bills. Feels like I'm struggling to stay afloat. Maybe there's a lot of medical issues. Not even sure if I can make it through. You don't understand the situation that I'm in. It's rough where I'm at. And you may well be right. It may be very difficult where you're at. But I tell you, God has a plan right where you're at this evening. God has a plan for your life. And if you let Him take control of your life and let Him guide you, things will happen that you never dreamed of. And here's Joseph. He's in prison. You say God can't possibly have a plan for me here. And yet God is using Joseph in the most unlikely of scenarios. He had to go to a prison because God had a plan that went directly through that place. You know what happened? The light of God is going to shine in a prison cell to a chief of the butlers and a chief of the baker. Why? Because God had put a person there to be a light. He put a man called Joseph, who wasn't even there for right means, who was falsely accused, and yet God had a plan for him. Verse 5 tells us that these two, this butler and this baker, had a dream. It says in verse 5, and they dreamed a dream, both of them. Each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream. The butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came into them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his Lord's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? You know, I'm sure you've came across someone, and you looked at them, and they just had a sad countenance. You could tell they were not having a very good day. And I'm sure you probably had one of those days too, where you were down. Things had happened. There were things on your mind. Things weighing heavily on you. And this was the case for the butler and the baker. You know, I would imagine if we just use our eyes and look around just a little bit, you find a whole lot of hurting people just looking for a little bit of hope, looking for someone to care about their life. You know, if you know me very well, you know that I work for Heartland Automotive in Greencastle, Indiana. I've worked there for quite a while now. And I'm known as Preach there. Preach or Preacher. That's almost no one knows my real name. And that's perfectly fine. I don't mind that. And I'm not trying to use this as a way to brag or anything. God allows us to be lights for Him. And if any glory comes from it all, may it be for God's glory. But people come, and many times I've been asked questions. People facing depression. People facing broken relationships. People facing sicknesses. Sometimes people even look death almost square in the face. They have questions. They have sad countenances. They're trying to find hope. And you know where hope is? Hope is bound in Jesus Christ. It's where it's at. He's the hope for all eternity. He's the hope. He's the one that can save you from sin. He's the one that died on the cross for our sins. And by His blood we can be saved and born again and washed away from all sin. It's a wondrous blessing. Whether people all around his sad countenance need a little hope, maybe even you're a Christian tonight that needs a little hope, well, God is the answer. God's in control. I don't know how dark your time is. Maybe it's like Joseph, you feel like you're in prison. maybe the prison of despair and disappointment and misery. But I tell you, God has the answer for your situation. God has hope. He has life eternal. He has joy unspeakable, full of glory. But these two men were sad. In verse 8, they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said to them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. You know what Joseph doesn't do? Joseph doesn't say, well, you know what? I'm just really wise and really smart. I can tell you all about your dream. Just tell me what you dreamed, and I'm the smart guy, the wise guy. I can make everything better. You know, I'll be honest, I've heard some preaching like that. I don't like it. You know why I don't like it? It's not biblical. That's a proud heart. And I'm not saying that you can't say God has blessed me, whether it's with intelligence or knowledge or a singing ability or whatever field it is. Some people have some amazing talents from God. And there's nothing at all with recognizing that you have a talent. You have to be humble about it and give God the glory. And here, you know what Joseph does? He points straight back to God. He says interpretations belong to God. Wisdom's from God. So you can tell me your dreams. The interpretation belongs to God. Give God the glory. If you really want your life to make an impact in this world and to help the ones that are in misery, to help those that are down, to even help in your own life, bring your glory and give it to God. Thank the Lord for His blessings. We're blessed here tonight. We're blessed here that God has helped us to be able to increase the upload speed on this stream. I'm thankful the audio is a little better. I'm thankful that we'll be able to do things a little quicker. You know what? It's the glory to God. It's not anything that I do. You just follow God, and God works things out. It's actually very interesting. Right when I started these videos, it's a little bit of a sidetrack. But right when I started these streams, and I'll try to hurry along, I try not to keep people too incredibly long, and I do realize that it's closing in on 8 o'clock, and I do try to get people out here at Sealyville by 8 o'clock. But, you know, when I was thinking about possibly upgrading our speed, I began to realize that it was the speed, the upload speed was the problem. The download speed is actually very good that we have, and I realized pretty quickly that it was the upload speed when I began to think about it. And you know what happened? This is quite interesting. I had just gotten a letter from our internet provider about a week before. Now, it would be about a week and a half ago. I just got a letter from our internet provider telling us that our plan was being grandfathered. They were going to drop the rate of our plan, but it was going to be a forced switch because our plan didn't exist anymore. They were going to drop the price of our plan, but it was actually not quite as good, and that's just one of those things that happens. And so I was wondering if I should move up. It would stay around the same price, and it would be a little faster, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that or not. But then I realized we're having a problem with the audio as soon as I started the live streams. And I was like, well, I think I need to upgrade. You know what happened? I got a call the very next day, almost positive it was the next day. I think on Thursday was the first time I did a stream. I got a call on Friday, I believe it was, on Friday, that wanted me to increase my speed. They offered to increase my speed. This is not even a call I made to them. This was a call that I got. They offered to increase my speed double my download speed and like increase my upload speed by about 6 times for an extra $2. That was literally the next day. So I already thought I was going to upgrade it anyway, so I decided we might as well go with it. The next day, on Saturday, I get another call from my internet company with the same offer. And I told them that I'd already set it up previously. You know, God works things out. It's amazing. You can say, well, it's all coincidental. No, I don't really like coincidences that much. God has a plan, and He works them out. And He has a plan for your life. And He had a plan for Joseph in the prison, in the dark time of life in the prison. He had a plan for this butler and this baker that are in the prison, possibly deserve to be there from the sounds of it. They're there. Joseph is there. God sometimes puts you through the darkest times so you can be a light to someone and somebody, or maybe some ones that need help. You're where you're at for a reason. Can't emphasize that much. No matter whether you're in the darkest valley of despair or on the mountaintops of glory, I'm telling you, God has you where you're at for a reason and a purpose. And if you follow His will, you'll be able to fulfill the purpose that He has for you. And you'll never be fulfilled in this life unless you follow the will of God. Here they are. They have a dream. I'm going to try to move quickly here through these dreams here. And they said to him in verse 9, and the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me. And in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. You know what? God gave Joseph the answer to the dream. And I really believe when you're working with people that there are so many times when God gives you the answer, gives you the wisdom to know what to say. It's amazing how it works. You know, there's an interesting part in the Bible where it tells us not to worry when we're called before, I believe it's the Judges. I may be a little bit off on the exact wording. I think it's the Judges. I apologize if that's wrong. Maybe it's authority. It's something very similar. But it tells us not to worry about what we're going to say. You know why? Because God gives us, because we're in a relationship with Him, the ability to have wisdom so many times to know what to say. We're in tune with God. We're working with somebody. I can't tell you the times I've worked with somebody and God has given me something to tell them that I would not have thought of on my own power. I truly believe it was God. And here Joseph is, interpreting a dream. God's giving him the wisdom from heaven to understand it. It says in verse 12, and Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head, and restore thee in thy place. And thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner, when thou wast his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray unto thee. Make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. Joseph interprets the butler's dream. It says you're going to be back to your place. Pharaoh's going to be restoring you to your position again. What a great interpretation. Things are going to go well. We all love that interpretation. It's great. He says, and when you're restored, remember me. Remember me. I'm still in prison. Remember me. You help me get out of this place. That's going to come into key later on. But that's for another time. But finally, we'll look at the baker's dream. It says this, verse 15. Sorry, I did not finish the part where he's speaking to the butler. It says in verse 15, for indeed I was stolen away out of the land of Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. Here he gives his cause to the butler. I've not done anything wrong. And God had helped him give the interpretation. Verse 16 says, when the chief baker saw the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there were all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds that eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. I'm trying to hurry on a little bit here. But I want to caution this. I'm going to caution right here. When you work with people, things will not always go well. They won't. They won't always go well. I've worked with people, and sadly some of those people are in a worse shape than when I first started working with them. You say, wow, that's not good. You give them wisdom from God. You give them help. You give them hope. Hope and wisdom and showing God's love are wonderful things. They're things that we need to show. But I will tell you that just because somebody works in your life, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a friend,